Hope everybody's doing well and started their year off in a fun and connected way with your family and ready to get moving. We've got for a lot of us, we got a standard set as far as what we did last year, and that's something we can work to improve on, grow on, learn how to. For some of us, work smarter, others work harder, and for most of us, a little bit of both. So, learn how to show up better into this new year and do the things that used to take a ton of effort. Be able to do those intuitively. Move that from thoughtful progress forward to intuitive responses to intuitive and dynamic responses in the moment, right? And so we want to get that started off on a new gear and correctly. And so I knew the person who could help me do that right was Rob Purley. And so I wanted you to be on here this morning with us, Rob, talking about storming the gates of 2023. And very excited to be with you, and just a awesome year with Monica qualifying as agency owner, which pushed you to agency director. Hannah Grace has a ton of momentum. We'll wait till numbers get confirmed there, but we got a lot of really great things going on. Just some unbelievable production last year. I was texting a lot of the leaders and a lot of those people who led the leaderboards in 2022 and just congratulating them on what they've done. Next week, we've got a really special guest on, so I'm fired up about that. We have Mr. Rex Knight Jr. on here with us, who wrote $110,000 in submitted APV for the month of December, and it was over 55,000 of submitted APV last week. Just to give you guys an idea of what's possible, and that's a really great continuation on to his story, which, his first month was the month of December. And I think he wrote 18, his first month was November. He wrote 17,000 in November, 22,000 in December. People do not only do buy insurance, but they're hungry for it as long as we're hungry for it. So got a lot of good things going on here, Rob. Talk to us first about your state of mind coming into this, the beginning of this year, what you see for yourself and for your team members, and just as we continue to grow here.
Yeah. Good morning, buddy. Happy New Year.
Yeah, likewise. Happy New Year to you.
Well, I tell you, there are, and I've experienced both. There are two ways to come into a new year, right? There is, you can come in limping, or you can come in sprinting. And for us in 2022, we came in limping. We came in limping. We had lost some people. Some things happened in the fourth quarter of 2021. And I can remember telling Emily, and before I go any further, by the way, my name's Rob Purley. I'm director Colin Gillum, and super fired about that. Almost got away from me. But I can remember telling Emily when we started 2022, I said, "Hey, this first quarter is going to hurt. This first quarter is going to hurt." And she said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Oh yeah, yes, I am sure." I said, and then I could explain it back to her. I was like, if you look at the building numbers the last 90 days, if you're looking at the A leads being taken the last 90 days, you can see that we hit something, and then we just really started to drip right across the finish line. And so as we were putting 2022 together, we started with the end in mind. So like, look, we want to make sure that we learn the lesson from last time around, because I can remember Jordan Hunt saying one time, he said cycles turn into seasons, or seasons turn into cycles when we refuse to learn the lesson that the season is trying to teach us. Right. And so it's just like, hey, we have to learn from that. And then what we tried to do is we tried to build 2022 around 2 seasons of recruiting and 2 seasons of really, really producing. And so we were intentional about that, and we got to the end, and we feel really good, right? We feel like, hey, we didn't hit all the goals, but we were able to maybe recalibrate a standard around, hey, what does a year in our organization look like? And here's the secret. it looks like what a year looks like in the Delaney agency, which probably looks like what a year looks like inside the Pritchett agency, which probably looks like what a year looked like going back to Casey and Brandon, all the way back at the beginning. Because one of the challenges that we have is that as this thing gets bigger and bigger, is how do we make sure that we don't get too far away from the core values? Right? It's about telling old things to new people, not trying to tell new things to new people. So that's kind of where we're at on January 2nd. Long answer to a quick question.
No, that's great. That's great. I think the way that you're looking at that, we saw the exact same thing, right? We saw last year, we came in 2022, we came in limping. In 2023, we're coming in sprinting, and but in order to do that, we talked about. I know Edward talked a lot about clarity, right? And clarity was something that he said so key. Found that for myself, so key. Not first clarity on, because all of us have a sense of like what we want. We want to make more money. We want to have better relationships. We want to feel better and be more fit. We want to do all those things that are healthy for us and contribute to us being able to show up in bigger and bigger ways in our life. Here with business, it's like, how do we win on the cash flow side, right? How do we win on the growth side, right? Because if I come into an organization and I'm making 100,000, but that's where I'm capped, that's a problem. I came into this organization first year, made 75,000. And the best part about that was I knew I was just getting started. And for all of you who have arrived in this brand new year, I just want to let you know that for as good as it may be, this is the worst it ever has to be, right? This is the worst it ever will be, as long as you follow the system. And so when it comes to that word system, right, we talk about it, but for me, it was important to have these things right in front of me, because every single year I need to learn new lessons. And so what are those two items? The two items are the levels of leadership, right? And then also the promotion guidelines. So do we have those things in front of us in a place that we can continuously look to and look for our next steps, not our next stop, but our next step of growth, right? And so when it comes to having that available, right, as you're just getting started with us, you see the 10% raise that's reflected. We built a little bit of a cheat sheet to let you know what products are accounted for in the 10% raise. Mike, if you don't mind just posting that and group me again. But being able to see these early wins, not only in the fact that you can double up and do it 1 month, a 1 month per promotion, but also get this 10% bonus and be in a place where if you place 10,000 in your first month, you're going to get a $2,000 bonus. Plus you're going to get a promotion. Plus profitability is like cash flow and profitability are there from the very beginning. That's the way the companies have designed it. We've got folks right now who are also doing these carrier kickers, 15K in net place premium in the first in the first 90 days with one of the following core carriers, right? Look at these carriers and ask your mentor, which one of these should I focus on, right? Which one of these should my primary business be with, right? And if you're not currently working with a mentor that's growing, ask someone who is growing, right? What's going on there? We have slingshot bonuses. We've got the destination kicker, 45K net placed with bonusable carriers in 120 days. We have some of you who are on track for that as well. We had I believe it was 3 qualifiers this last year for destination kicker, being able to get on that trip with the new carrier or with all of the existing agents. And then the last piece. So having this document, you can find this under bonuses and promotions on HQ. And then under agency building, you can also find the levels of leadership, right? And so when you see these levels of leadership, maybe you're just starting out as a new agent, but folks on our team, they get to 6 applications very quickly as they come in. And you can see the top producer, elite producer, team leader, key leader, agency owner. This key leader hitting this for 1 month over these next 2 months is what gets you qualified to the spring fling, as well as our own leadership summit, which is a do not miss. Like, how many, not only can I get there, but how many people can I bring with me? What's going to be the fastest way for me to do that, to build that agency out? So just as you're thinking about this new year, you're thinking about the levels of leadership, the carrier kickers, the promotion guidelines. How does that work as a guide and a roadmap for you in 2023, Rob, and for your team?
Well, for us, it starts around the communication around it, right? Like one of the mistakes that we've made in the past is we just in communication, sometimes we can assume too much. We can just assume that, oh, they know about it, right? They've got access to it just like we do, and we don't do a good enough job of reminding and pointing people back. We don't. One of the things that we probably do a good job of is celebrating folks getting there. I'm saying that to all the leaders, is that when you have people inside your agency get there, Mike, you heard me talk about this a couple weeks ago. Winning here can't feel like wetting your pants in a dark suit. And what I mean by that is you can't get this warm feeling, but nobody knows. Right? Because that's what happens if you pee your pants wearing a dark suit, Brick. Right? A warm feeling, but nobody knows. And it can't be like that here. Right? People want to be seen. And so when people are winning, let's celebrate that and watch, because what you will find is you'll find other people that want some of that. They want the bonus, they want the cash, but they also want that recognition. All right. So I think talking about it beforehand is a big deal. And I think celebrating it after is an even bigger deal.
The important piece of what you just talked about, talking about it ahead of time, like just even talking about the basics. We go from big goals down to small goals. We go from, hey, promotion guidelines, levels of leadership, profitability. Here's that, what we focus on. I love that. That's now a part of the Delaney agency lexicon. If you win without anybody knowing it, so, but it's a big goals on cash flow, on team building, on business building, how much of my cash flow came from overrides, how much of them came from my efforts versus how many came from my agency's efforts. We have those big ones, but it starts backtracking, reverse engineering those. That's where it all starts, because now we know what the target is, and knowing what our ratios are first versus the expected ratios are super key. Like when it comes to dialing B3s and B2s, I need to know what my ratios are. I need to look at that activity report so I can work toward those and get better. Right. And if you're running into an issue, well, I'm having trouble getting to the sale, like pulling more than one lay down or 2 or 3 lay downs a week. I need, in order to get to that 5,000, what do I need to do? Well, you probably need to book more appointments at first, learn how to dig into emotion and close assumptively. Those are probably the things that you need to do. Okay. But like being able to first book more appointments, being able to uncover, to dig out their why, and being able to close assumptively. Those are the 3 skills that you're going to need to, and anybody who's been past that first roadblock can tell you that. So even if you haven't found that yet, it's here for you to find, as long as you're willing to say that what I've done got me what I got, and what I'm willing to do, that's what we're going to find out next. How can I find those results that other people are getting for myself, and what's important to me in getting to those? Like, what am I willing to sacrifice something for that makes it worth enough? Right. And so when it comes to that, Rob, as you're looking at your team, I know you have already talked to them about their goals. Number one, talk to me about some of the things that you guys are looking at as an agency for this year. And number 2, talk about what that's like for you getting to watch your people go on the same journey that you've gone on and watch them hit their goals. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So spending a lot of time in reflection in between the holidays, and then a lot of time on paper this morning, just going back through those numbers. I sent a message to both Monica and Hannah earlier. They both eclipsed the $400,000 APV mark in 2022, which in 2019, I think we did $379,000. Okay. And so being able to share with them that like, here's what that looked like in 2019. And we went from 379 to 710. And we've always operated, and this came from you, but we've always operated under the idea of full quarter growth is always going to be healthy growth in an organization. And I was in a meeting this morning with Frank and Leslie Haney, and one of the things I said to them is like, for us, healthy growth will always supersede hyper growth. And that doesn't mean that that's the same for Jake Davis or for the Jernigans. One of the beauties of this is that you get to build your business inside the business, right? And for me, healthy growth has always been on the forefront. Okay, and so sharing with Monica and Hannah specifically that like full quarter growth, let's reverse engineer that and make sure they understand that, hey, when we get to October 1st of 2023, wouldn't that be great if your numbers for 2022 were already eclipsed when we got to that last part? And if we're doing those things, if we're doing things the right way, we should be chasing that. This was actually it's weird. Like we hit all these, the numbers and the promotions and the accolades. And this was actually our first year where we didn't hit full quarter growth. We missed it by like 20 days. Like we got it, but it was 3 weeks after. So what am I saying? It was like right before Halloween. Right. But when we were coming up on the fourth quarter, right, it was just like, there was that frustration that we all feel because we set a goal and we don't get it. But that's a big thing. And then to answer how that feels, what it does, Brian, is it validates to me, and not that I needed the validation, but it validates again, the opportunity that's in front of every single person that's on this call, right? Like the company's about to be, 14, or now we're 14 years old, but we're like, same thing happened. We saw Monica go from 60,000 her first year to 200,000 the next year to 280,000 the next year. And then this year she got over 400,000, right? She was next, then Hannah. And the question running into 2023 is, who's next now? Who's the next one, right? Because I heard you say this once a while ago, like the days of this being this could, we're past that. like we're as a company, we're past that. There's just too many examples of people coming here and making this happen, and so that's it. It's this validation of like, yep. Here's the next two. Who's the next? Here's the last two. Who's going to be the next two?
Yep. And listen, there's going to be people who have your same excuses and even better ones for this year that are going to lose with this company. They may have less excuses. They may have your same excuses. They may have more excuses. They're going to lose with this company. That's what's going to happen. There's going to be people who have more reasons where they shouldn't do it, but they have too many reasons to do it, who are going to win with this company this year. And you just have to decide which one you're going to be. And first of all, it just starts with like determining a timeline for me, right? Can I give myself 1 year to figure this out? Can I invest 2023 in seeing how great I can be, how much production I can pull? Because we have the math at this point. It's not unclear for us. People who are writing 200,000 in a year and less are spending about $2,000 a month on leads. People who are writing 300,000 are spending about 3,000 a month on leads. That's what is happening consistently between Razor Ridge, between Mortgage Protection. Here's what they're doing though. They're making the most and getting the most resolution out of those leads. That's what they're consistently doing is they're making the calls, they're setting apart that calendar. And I remember seeing it. It's like when you come to that realization that while jobs may be about how much time you put in, businesses are always about how much you put into the time. And then rebuilding our calendar from that. How many dials can I make in 3 hours? How many appointments can I run in an afternoon? Right? How can I put some positive pressure on myself that I've initiated in order so that I have to skill up. And in the beginning, I know it's not going to feel good because I remember going from 2 to 3 appointments in a day, right? running 2 to 3 appointments in a day and just feeling like dog tired. Like I'm dog tired. I don't have the results. Right. But then the difference between 2 to 3 appointments in a day and 4 SAT appointments in a day is everything. Right. If you want to know what you need to invest in order to write 20,000 a month, it's going to be about $500 to $600 per week. If you want to know what you need to invest in order to get essentially double those results, it's about another third more. It's about another third more. Investment of energy, investment of money. Invest another third more of those two things, and you're going to see a double up in results. You'll see your results double up. You'll see your cash flow get to a great place. And just being in that place where it's like, okay, so I know I need my mindset to shift in order for my action to shift. Rob, I saw you reading a ton because one of the things that you understood was your business is only as big as your own ability to solve problems. You have people right now who are trying to solve the problem of getting to 5,000 a week. If you haven't solved that, solve it, right? If you haven't solved the $3,000 a week problem, solve that problem, right? Solve that problem that's right in front of you, because that problem and your ability to solve it is what is either going to allow you to gain access to the next set of problems, to the next set of benefits for solving those problems, or it's going to be the high fence around the things that you want that's keeping you out, not because it wants to, just because people who try hard are the only ones who are allowed in. People who build the skills are the only one who are allowed in. People who recognize and have self-awareness, act on that self-awareness, are the only ones allowed in. So what were some of the books and things that you listened to in this last year, or maybe that you have on your list this year, in order to keep your mindset right, so you're not just responding, getting information or responding the way that you have before, but now you're able to do it at another level?
Man, that's a good question, and I love the topic. I was just thinking, the what you're talking about is that it's this idea that breakthroughs will only happen after breakups, right? And one of the things that I saw with both, and I'll share this with everybody, what I saw both with Monica and Hannah. In Monica's case, we saw Monica break up with this story of like what she was able to do part-time. She came to us, right? You know this. She came to us and she's like, look, I'm that story has hit an expiration date with me. And I can remember her being on somebody's call and they introduced her that way. And she called me afterwards. She's like, I told you to tell Jake Davis, I don't want to be introduced as the part-time, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she just was like, look, I'm breaking up with this idea of what I did on the part-time basis, and I'm pushing my chips across the table. In Hannah's case, we saw her just break up with this idea of like, selling is great, the recognition is great, the money's great, but it's time for me to start working on myself a little bit harder than I work on the business. Or in her case, start working on myself a lot harder than I was working on the business. She broke up with that version in order to get this breakthrough into this new space, right? And it's the same message for everybody. It's just like one of the things I read over the weekend. I just finished a book, a John Maxwell book called The Self-Aware Leader. And one of the things that was in there is just, look, plateaus are okay. People get to those. You go to a plateau, you assimilate, you learn what you're supposed to learn, and then it's time to climb again, right? And with both of those two, seeing them go through this break up with this past piece, so that they could break through into this new bit, that doesn't change. And I'm going to guess that you at 39, me at 40, coming into 2023, there are facets of our businesses, there are facets of our lives that's just like, hey, that's hit an expiration date, and it's time for me to walk away from that and walk into this, right? And that never goes away. And so the answer to your question, anything John Maxwell, right? It's a generic answer, but it's a quality answer. Anything for me, anything Simon Sinek is a really good read. His latest book about the infinite game That was a big one for me. Anything Adam Grant writes is a big thing for me. Brene Brown there was a season in my life where Devin and I joke that he needs Tim Grover and I need Brene Brown, right? Because we're just cut differently, you know? And so, but to your point, like I got a book on Thursday and I read it on Friday because that's just the way. There was 12 chapters in it. And once I got into it, I was just like, I'm just not going to be ready for next until I get done reading this book. And then for me, I finished it. And then I went back through this morning and I made sure to file it, right? To file it. Because one of the things that I did over the holidays, Emily got a real kick out of this. I have all my notebooks and all my journals organized, not to spend, but in that time between Christmas and New Year's, right? In that time where it's like, hey, here's a window to get some reflection, to relearn old lessons or to drive up some wisdom, was going back through those notebooks to find these pieces that you forget. That was such an exercise for me, especially over the last 10 days.
And Drew McClure mentioned this at our Tampa meeting. When are you going to be ready to stop forgetting? Right? When are we going to be ready to stop forgetting? And it's so easy to forget because, hey, listen, difficult things, challenging things are always going to be, and honestly, like things that are coming from a weak place are always going to be more plentiful. The excuses are always going to be more plentiful than the reasons. The truth, the lies are always going to be more plentiful than the truth. Though, weakness is always going to be more plentiful than strength, but it's never going to be more powerful. And so when we decide to break up, when we decide to disconnect, sometimes we need help. I remember calling around and I was looking for a personal coach and just calling and negotiating with people. Hey, I found a guy who would give me a call 10 o'clock every other Tuesday, right? 10 o'clock every other Tuesday. And it forced me to do something. It became a forcing function, not only paying him, but having to pick that up and then enacting what he was saying, because otherwise I felt like I was wasting my money. And it was very uncomfortable at first. It put me in a position where my equilibrium was off, my balance was off. But I was more willing to endure that than I was enduring another year where I was hitting the same frustrations because I still didn't have the solutions to the same problems. Right? I was more willing to engage in the uncomfortability, the uncomfortable part of growing, because once I did that, I would never be uncomfortable there again. Right. And when it comes to investment, it's like breaking up with a self-image that I'm the type of person who can't invest 3,000. I'm the type of person who can't ask for referrals. Let's break up with that with action today, right? Let's break up with these ideas where we forget how good it feels to impact and to make sure a client has the coverage that they need, that they're protected. Because listen, they're not going to show it the way that it feels because you're taking care of a problem that is important but subtle for them. But when you get those moments when you're sitting down with a client, like who here has had those moments where they've sat down with clients and they could hear the relief in their voice after they got it done, right? I know for me, it was time and time again. I could hear the pressure coming off, and that pressure just gave them space to be able to do a new thing in their life, to be able to do a more. When am I going to stop forgetting those good feelings and start to chase that with a client? Hey, client, I want to see you with this outcome. I want to see you experience that same relief from stress that these other people are experiencing. And I know you may not even be feeling it to the same weight, but wait until the end here. You'll see. Get fired up on the phone. How many dials can I do? How quickly can I do them? Build my life around a sense of urgency to become the type of person who gets the things that I want, who's able to enjoy those, right? Who's able to enjoy those things. And this year for me was a time where we were able to see a complete reconfiguration of our leadership team and watch this new level of leadership grow with more of the reasons and less of the excuses, and more people getting what they want than ever before. Are you going to be the reason that people get more of what they want this year? Are you going to be the reason that more families are protected this year? Can you get above 200 applications, 200 people, families protected, 200 layers of coverage for families? can you get above that? Right? Can you put yourself into a position where if God forbid somebody in their family passes away, you're their go-to person? Can you put yourself into that place? Can you be the resource for other people who are they're looking for job stability? You know, whether it's I have the pleasure of working with both my brother and my brother-in-law. Challenging at times, but nobody who I'd rather do it with. Right? Right? I have people who are watching my back because they know that I'm watching the road ahead. Right? And that's what we can look toward this year. I know some of you are already heading up to a meeting in upstate New York. I know others of you have already engaged in coaching for this year. I know some of you have already walked into the week with appointments, but now it's the first week of the year. It's the first week of the year. It's time to get set. It's time to get determined and not start accepting our excuses now. I mean, we see Brandon Pack and he's got his face shaved. Come on. We're looking at a new man this year. Right? We're seeing people make these changes, but these changes have to last. We can't just shave our face once in order for it to be done this year, unless you have genetics like I do. Right? Then you're fine. Yeah. So you'll have a 5 o'clock shadow by December. It's going to be great. So just being in that position where we're open and we're honest with ourselves and other people, and we're not believing the plentiful lies, but we're believing the powerful truth that the person that I was last year can be a step, not a stop, for my growth as a person, my growth in income, my growth in impact, my growth in the ability to inspire other people and give them a choice that, hey, if you want to grow, you can grow, and you can do that here. Right? That financial freedom for the clients, the financial freedom for myself. We help enough people get what they want, and we will have everything in the world that we want. We help people get enough security. You will have all the security that you want. You'll realize that the money just won't stop coming. To go from a place of where is the money going to come from to that the money just won't stop flowing into me because the value just doesn't stop flowing out. That's the win for this year. That's what it looks like. That's challenging ourselves to do more and giving ourselves the rewards for that. Remember, it's not someday I'm going to go on vacation. It's some today, right? How can we reward the people around us for being with us, right? I love talking with Laurie, who wrote 25,000 this past month. I saw it, Laurie. I saw what you did. You 25,005. Come on. Yeah, she had a conversation. She was like, why is the standard so much higher for me? And I said, because the performance we want to see it. We got to see it. Like, we've got to set higher standards to get higher levels of performance. And it might seem unfair because the standards for others are lower, but that's just because they need of somebody who has a higher standard to build a vision and to build a path for them. Where would we find Carrier Trips on HQ? That's a really great question. The place that I recommend that you find Carrier Trips, you can find them in events and trips, but find them on the carrier's website. Find them on the American Amicable website, right? Because some carriers are transitioning to putting on a trip just for symmetry people. So I don't want to give you old qualifications. So have that, and set a thermometer, like a fundraising thermometer there, to keep it visually in front of you. Set that so you know where you're going. Create these visual aids for yourself in order to inspire the correct motion and the correct thinking through that process, and support that with what you put into your mind. Right? If we put distraction into our mind, we're going to become distracted. Right? If we constantly do that. So let's get the focus. Let's make sure it's written down on an action plan. I know I've worked with a lot of you. Work with your mentor to write those goals down. Let's get clarity, and listen, using that levels of leadership and the promotion guidelines with the slingshot. Make sure to maximize what you can do. Do not miss a promotion. Get it written in the calendar so you don't have blank space in there. Ask yourself when something comes up, if I had a regular job, would I be able to leave my job and just drop everything and do this now? If I had a regular job, would I have this level of flexibility? And if not, maybe you have to say no to those things. And if you do have to say yes to those things, appreciate the flexibility that you have built, that you have earned, and earn some more of it in the future, right? Earn some more. But that discipline equaling freedom is everything. And then Yeah, low state New York. Yeah, definitely read through these. You'll find that all the different events that we post up. But Rob, what are you for this year for your team? Where did you guys ended up at just over a million last year, correct? Or
Yeah, we were just shy of 1.1 million in
Mhm.
2021. We were like 148. I was looking at this morning, and then well, here we finished 2021 at 1,043,000, and we finished 2022 at 1.212 million. So
Awesome. What's your goal for this year? How many people to the spring fling with you guys, and what's your total APV goal for the year?
um, that full quarter growth will remain a consistent goal for us. And so my conversations this week with both Monica and Hannah are here's where you were. How do we get to that? How do we reverse engineer that around the spring fling? As I look at our organization, I think that there's 8 people that have a puncher's chance, right? Just based on like where they're at in the business.
Mhm.
And so for Emily and myself, it's just like like how many people can we put in that 8 pack? How many
Mhm.
people can we help get in that 8 pack? Let me back that up. So,
Mhm.
yep, that's what that looks like for us.
I love that, and the leverage that you have and that you've gained because you've decided to bring Emily onto your executive team is such a big bonus. And it's like if you're not in that position quite yet, where you can talk about the person who you brought into the team, obviously we have to back ourselves into a corner. And I just saw it. I was like, one more app per month. Maybe it's a few more apps per month that I need to do. I built my business on one more app per month because every app, now it's closer to $600 in average commission when you write it with those carriers that apply to that 80%. But one more app per month gave me so much more freedom, because when you don't have an assistant, you are one. When you don't have an assistant, you are one. Now, don't go out and get an assistant. Talk to your mentor first, right? Talk to your mentor first about the investments that are next in your business. But let's climb those steps and let's keep ourselves motivated, and let's be the example. Let's be the reason other people say, I can do this. If they can, I can, right? Because that's what helps our agency continue to grow. I think the biggest lies we can tell are just something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jody, that's so true. I just want to get comfortable. I just want to get comfortable. I just want to get comfortable. And the reason we want to get comfortable most of the time is because we feel like we're stretched. We feel like we're in this place. But when we learn how to lean into the discomfort that's caused by pushing ourselves in this business, we begin to win in a big way. So I'd like to open it up. We do this. We do this just about every week. I'd like to open it up for any questions for Rob about the beginning of your year. Maybe this is your first full year in business. Maybe you've been in business for multiple years. What questions do you have for Rob, or any of the? We can invite some other leaders into this in order to help you get off to a great start this year.
I'll go. So, Rob, for all the leaders sitting here on this call, what did those beginning conversations sound like with Hannah Grace and Monica Jaramillo that made it feel like you were for them and not wanting something from them?
Good question. I'll tell you this: both of those conversations always started from them, and so I think that that's an important piece. There was never a time that I went to either one of them and said, "Okay, so here's my plan for the year, and that plan means that you're going to have to do this." That never happened. To their credit, when they were ready for this, they came to me and said, "Okay, I want to do this, and I want your help." And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that people will train us on how to treat them, right? And when both Monica and Hannah came to myself or came to Brian and I and said, okay, I'm serious about this. I need some help. I need help in this area, and I need help in this area, and I need help in that area. They were training us to treat them like people that were really ready to go for it. You know, and then another thing, because this is real. This is a real question, Brian. You know this. I'll be super vulnerable with everybody. Like if you look at the contest and end the year, it looks to me like Hannah and Sherman are going with Brian to the Super Bowl. It looks like these guys, Monica and Hannah, are winning these trips and they're doing all these things. And it's very human nature to be like, what the hell? How come they're right? And you got to be super intentional, or else you get into this space where not only it's not that you want something from them, but then all of a sudden you can start to see them winning. And if you're not careful, you can start to be like, oh, why the hell's everybody talking about them? And they're winning this you got to be careful of that, because that's real stuff. And Brian, you've been around long enough where you've probably seen that before, right? Where relationships get sideways because, like what do we call it? Unhealthy conflict, or just where there's just that rub, and that's usually probably based out of a lack of balance. Mm-hmm. Would be my guess on that, but.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always my first thing is like, if I see somebody who's winning, if I see a Jacob Pogue, or if I see a Ryan Miller, if I see a Kevin Purdy, or I see Edward, it's always like, man, how did those guys do that? Right. And then I'll forget to see the rest of the math problem, because their APV is determined by their amount of writers, which is determined by their amount of new writers, which is determined by their time and energy investment in not only their own production in order to create that story, but their time and energy investment in identifying, qualifying, and selecting. And so the first thing I always look at is like, oh man, are they getting the special treatment? Their name keeps getting read off time and time again. And I don't look at the rest of the numbers. And that's where it becomes unhealthy. And it's unhealthy because it's untrue. Yep. Right? Competition is never unhealthy when it's true. It's just when our perspective goes awry. And I've been on both sides of that. I've been handing out the award to to Chris Ripple and Chris Ripple and Chris Ripple and Chris Ripple. I've handed out that award to Mark Jaffe. I've handed out that award to you and to Devin Johnson and to Jordan Hunt time and time again. And it can start to look like, well, they're just giving them everything. It's like, no, they're just earning everything. They're just earning it. They're just earning it. And when you're good, you're good. The biggest mistake we can make is to believe our own press, right? To look at those trophies and say, I'm good. It's like, no, the trophies are they always speak the same thing. Not that we are good. It's that we've been good and we have another opportunity to be better. Right. And so
I was reading this morning in that book, somewhere there it says, accolades like smoke will disappear, trophies collect dust and or rust, and financial rewards, you know what happens is it gets spent. Okay, that's it. And that's the way that Rachel, I want to follow up on one thing, because you made me think, and I appreciate this, because I had a conversation with Aaron Weaver. Like he's kind of the next one for me in the base shop, where it's just like, okay, cool. We saw Monica do this, we saw him, and now it's like, all right, Aaron, now it's your turn. And I have to be careful. There's just that fine line between calling somebody up, right? Calling somebody up like, hey, I see that I see something in you that maybe you don't see yet. Like you did that for me, Brian. And then also, but making sure that it's on their timeline, right? So that it's not something where I don't want to be pulling somebody that's hooked on to something else. Otherwise, I'm just digging my own hole because I'm spinning my wheels because I'm trying to get them to go somewhere that they're not ready to go there. Right. Oh, yeah. And so, like, I'm literally going to walk out of this, and when Aaron and I talk next, I need to be able to communicate to him that, like, hey, I said some things to you under the guise or the assumption that you were ready for that. Mm-hmm. And if I was wrong, tell me.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Because this has got to be for you.
Yep. Your race, your pace. And I love that. Your race, your pace. There are things that there are ways that people have grown before they even came here. When I saw Brad and Matt Smith come in and in their third month qualify qualify based on the numbers, based on the amount of production for AO, I was upset. I was like, what gives them the right to come in here and to do that? I've been working here for a year and a half. What the hell? And so, but what I didn't realize was the growth that they had experienced before that they brought here, whereas that was growth that I had to do while I was here. And just because, Kevin and Michelle Purdy talked about this. They talked about this a lot. They talked about seeing Edward Pritchett at the top of the company and saying he beat us there, but he won't beat us to managing partner. And it was a decision that they made. And sure enough, they got it. They got it. Right. And so, and it's the same thing that you see with all the leaders. It's this focus on we're here now and we may not be that good, but we're also not this bad. And that's something that that time and time again, when you realize that you can affect the outcome that you see on the last Friday turn-in in December right now, and that what you do today matters. And if you miss a day, it's not that bad, but don't let a day turn into a week, turn into a month, turn into a year, right? Don't let a bad mindset turn bad days into a bad year for you, right? Let's correct that mindset. Let's work on that. If you're ready to let go, if you're ready to get going, then certainly reach out to us. If for me, I looked all around. Edward was there. He was one of my tools that I use. He was a relationship that helped me to know that I'm not the biggest fish in the pond, and I need to constantly get around people who are bigger than me, who are growing, who have experienced growth and leadership that I haven't. I have to continue to put myself in that. So if I find that I'm always the one teaching, then I need to put myself in a different position. I need to get back into a position where I can learn again, where I can go from 0 to 10 on another level, as we've talked about before. So, but I love that. I love that conversation, Rachel. The first way that I know that I can allow people to know that I'm for them is to make sure that they don't see how my overrides on their production affect my life financially. I need to get their overrides disconnected from my quality of life and reinvest that in the building. So structurally and functionally, I can't depend on other people to pay my bills when I'm building a team. And that's something that I've seen you just like lock into. And so when you have that structure, and your profitability is on your own pen, naturally it creates a systemic expression of like, hey, I don't need anything from you. I just want something for you. And sometimes we want to see people, it's like, you would be such a great agency owner, right? And I remember breaking out my first agency owner and about 2 years later being like, oh, I wish I had higher standards. Like I was a little bit desperate at that time. And I just wanted an agency owner, not for them, but for me. And I had to get real with that because I realized I could trip over my first leader like that, but I was going to trip over my whole business, and my business was going to cause me to fall flat on my face if I didn't get my head right. And so having that structurally plus understanding what they want and when they want to go there, I think that's awesome. Who's got the next question? All right. We will, Rob, I'm all about closing this thing down early. I love that. I know we all have work to do. I'm not going to be.
I can jump on with a question, Brian.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Rob, Zach, Director Chris Ripple. My question for you would just be, production. Obviously, it's one thing that I've been pretty consistent with. The building, not so much. We're working on that a lot over the last several months. But agency owner, it doesn't look like it's so far away, but at the same time, like it does look like it's far away. How do you stay, I guess, laser focused during your pushes when it's like, okay, I got a couple of pieces in the right place. If I keep pushing down this path, it's going to get me to where I go, and not let life, the business, the trips, everything that we have going on, like disrupt you when you're in one of your pushes. What do you find like mentally keeps you the sharpest, other than just continuing to read books and jump on the calls?
Yeah. So some of the mental gymnastics that have to get played, right? So if I'm you, here's something I'd be thinking about. 90 days is going to, in our calendars, is basically going to be about 13 weeks, right? If I was you and I was running for agency owner, I would identify a number a weekly number where it's just like, if we do that, it's a win. Okay. And for us with Hannah and Monica, it's just like, hey, four riders and about 12,000 of APV a week. If you do that from a minimum, we just know that that's a win. Okay. And one of the things that we were looking at with them, it's just like, if there's 13 weeks and like, Zach, I'll use football for you. See if you can go 11-2. See if you can go 10-3. And one of the things we saw with Monica's numbers on it, I think she was like 8-5. It wasn't this idea of like, it's got to be 90 days of perfection. It's got to be this 13-0 season. That's not real. You know, with Hannah, she finished like 11-2. And the difference between Hannah's and Monica's run, you could see the difference. And the difference was Hannah had 3 weeks that were just better than what Monica's team had on their run. Okay. And so maybe this is how I would do it if I had to do it again. I'd say, okay, 13 weeks, here's that number. I need to get like 9-4, 10-3. And if I hit those numbers, 9 or 10 of those 13 weeks, this is going to happen. And in doing that, you give yourself a Saturday every now and again. By Saturday, I mean, not actually the day. You don't give yourself a day Saturday, but you give yourself like this. It's just like you played sports. You're like, sometimes it doesn't happen. And like what Brian saying earlier is just like, give yourself a day, just don't give yourself a week. Maybe you give yourself a week, just don't give yourself a month, right? And just recognize that like, hey, it was a bad week. Those things happen, but new game next week. And see if that that mental gymnastics of just like, hey, can I go 9-4 in the 90-day sprint? And maybe you crush it and you go 13-0 and it's a perfect season. That's awesome. That's great, right? But what if that's it? What if that's the number? And then you're able to say to a team, as you're building a team, the same thing that Hannah and Monica communicated to theirs. And their message was this: I'm going to do this. Can you guys do that? Right. And so for Monica, she was just like, look, we're going after 12,000 a week. You can count on 6 from me. Can I count on 6 from y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was the message. And Hannah was the same way. And then we reverse engineered the numbers around appointments set. Hannah knew that if she was going to for her to have a week like that would be considered a win, her team was going to have to book about 45 appointments in the week. And if you take 45 appointments and you multiply that by about 350, somebody do that for me real quick and just give me what that number is. 350 times 45 is what? Who's got that for me?
12,000.
What is that? What'd you say, Brian? 12,000?
I was real quick guessing, you know.
No, 15,750.
Yeah. So we would have Saturdays at 12:30 where Hannah would text me and she'd be like, 48 appointments, exclamation point, 52 appointments, exclamation point. So we knew going into the week, we knew going into Monday that we were going to win that week because they had enough appointments booked, because we just know that every appointment booked is about 350 of APV. Especially if I'm you, Zach, I know that because you know how to put big numbers on the board, which means that your team's averages are going to be closer to 350 than 300 per appointment booked. Okay. And so there were also weeks where Hannah would see that number at the end of the week and it'd be like 30. At least then she knew that it was like, if it's going to happen this week, it's going to happen because I'm going to score 60 points as a basketball reference. If it's going to happen this week, it's because I got to throw a no hitter as the pitcher. Like I got to carry it this week. Does that make sense? And so those are some of the things that we did with both of them around those. I call it mental gymnastics. And I saw somebody had a question.
Yeah, that was awesome. I always give sports references, and that was one of the best sports references I've ever heard. So I never really thought about a 13-week push like that, not having to be perfect. I think it's so easy to like beat yourself up when you have a bad day or a bad week or whatever it is. And then it's like, oh, my AL run's ruined. Like I got to start again 12 weeks from now. Like, no, it was one bad week. Like chill out. You can.
It's one bad week. And here's the thing. And you know this from being in sports. Any team that I had that would have a bad week or two, what would we do in the next week? We'd get back to the fundamentals.
That's right.
Right. It's like, okay, we're going through something and now we got to get back to the fundamentals. And this business is no different. Where is it? It's somewhere in the four cornerstones, somewhere in the four keys to a successful week, somewhere in those fundamentals, something's not getting covered, right? And you rely on yourself, you rely on your mentor, you rely on your people, and you identify what that area is, and you address it, you know? And that's something that I would do if I was you.
That's so good and so pertinent to every part of the business. It's like, if you haven't written your first app yet, write your first one and figure out how to get another one, figure out how to add to that. Right. And it's the same thing for new writers. A lot of people, they'll recruit a bunch of people and try to work with a bunch of people, and they'll struggle to break out one writer because the excuses mount up. Because again, more excuses and reasons every single time. And we have to just keep our heads low and to be able to continue to work on our site, to be able to continue to work on what we see and tune what we see to and understand what it means. Right. When I have somebody, when I've got one person in my pipeline, what that means is I'm going to be desperate. But when I have one person who's doing all the activities, whereas there's 5 who aren't, that means I need to pay attention and spend time there. And I have to work on being effective with one, right? Work on being effective with one, break out, find that one new writer, find that one new business partner, find that one running buddy who's going to make all the difference in the world. And until I find that one, I can't get another, right? I'm not going to get it. So I don't turn people into that. I identify people, give them things to do that allow them to sort themselves out, right? Including clients when I'm booking appointments. When you're booking, you've got to give people things to do. Because in order for people to change, the best way that they're going to change from going from unprotected with no insurance to protected is with guidance. That way they can rely on your mindset rather than relying on their own, and they can walk away from that. And Zach, you've got that ability. Just don't be afraid to put somebody right next to you. And also don't shy away from the results that it gets you. I had to deal with the truth, right? I had to deal with the truth that came back to me when I was first working with new people, when I was first building a team. The truth was that I sucked. I was not good at it. I had to deal with the truth when I was running my appointments. The truth is I was nervous in the homes and I was not good. I was not good at it. I was not good at keeping my business on the books. And I just had to deal with that truth. It's like, okay, so how do I fix that? And I think that question is the difference. It's like, Zach, what you're asking is how do I fix that rather than the question that haunts people, which is, I guess I'm not that. I guess I'm not that. I guess I'm not AO material. I guess I'm not SNA material. I guess I'm not regional agency director material. Screw that. Who told you that? Right? Who told you that? It's like, it's just time to get better, but we can't just say, oh, I've got to make everything better. Like, yeah, we do have to grow as people, but there are specific problems we can solve. And you find that disconnect where what you're doing isn't getting you the results you're wanting. And you find that on a small target. Like, hey, when I put people when I book my appointments, I don't end up sitting my appointments. Great. So how many did you book? We need to look at the standard 15. We booked 15 appointments. Okay. So the number of appointments isn't a problem. How many dials did you make? I made 300. Okay. That's great. We're in a great place. So you booked 15 appointments. How many of them showed up? 5. Okay. It's simple. Just show ratio. They have to want to meet with you. They have to see where it's in their best interest. You have to be able to communicate that with people through your language, right? It's everything. So I know, Rob, that's so on point, and I know that's going to help a lot of people. Shonda, I saw that you had your hand up. I want to get you in. I know Jessica was on here as well, but we'll get with you since you have your camera on.
Okay. Hi, Shonda Crawford, Director John Clayton. I am currently a key leader. I can say that I'm pretty good for with production. Pretty much I can get doing that. Same thing with Zach. But when you were saying, talking to your teammates, about, if you can do this, I can do that. I have right now, the people that I had on my team that helped me get to key leader, none of them are here. So we're starting all over again. And I have right now 3 in pre-licensing and 1, 2, 3, 4 new agents, brand new licensed agents. And they seem really excited, there are 3 of them are working full-time jobs. So basically I have, most of them are part-timers. And so just struggling with helping them get even that first app. I need some advice there.
Well, one, understand that I love the part-timer. Monica doesn't want me to talk about it, but like this thing, she was a catalyst for us because of what she was able to do on the part-time. Okay. And I think that we all have to do a better job of finding people that can do this part-time, because the one superpower with the part-time person is that they will come here and they will not need the sale as much as the client needs the coverage in the beginning. I believe that. They're getting a paycheck somewhere else. And so they might not need that sale as much or more than the client needs the coverage. And every time you get into that situation, that's where the desperate and dysfunctionalism of the insurance industry, that's where that is bred. Okay. And so I'm saying this not necessarily to you, but I'm saying this to everybody. Don't misunderstand. The part-time player is important here. Hannah was part-time. They learned how to build their business. They learned how to launch their business, I should say, while getting paid from somebody else until the work that they could do here required time that they did not have because they were giving it to somebody else. Okay. And we can all do better. We can all do a better job of that. And so, so if I'm you, I'm trying to figure out with people 15 hours a week. What does that look like? Where is 15 to 20 hours a week that you can commit? And people need to understand, if they're doing it part-time, is that we're not asking you to commit 15 to 20 hours forever. We're asking you to do that until your talent, your ability to do this will give you the permission to do it more. Okay. And people got to understand that if they're going to do this part-time, this is like, this is going to take an extra 15 to 20 hours out of your day. And one of the things that I learned in this business is that if you cannot give your free time to this, if you cannot give your free time to your dreams, then greatness might not be in you yet. The people that have won here, they did that by committing their free hours to it. And people will train you on how to treat them. They will give 15 to 20 hours that they don't have, but they're creating for this, which sends a message to you that they're not a contender, but they're a player. Or they won't. And they will train you to treat them like a pretender. And we've got to give people space to do that.
Okay.
People will say, Brian, you've heard this before. And then people will say to you, Shauna, they'll say, thank you for being patient. Right. And one of the things that Brian said to me is, I'm not patient. I have options. I'm not patient. I work with people that are working. I have options so that I can play with people that are playing. I can push with people that are pushing. And if you're not, that's okay. Because I heard Brian say in 2021, we're going to do 20 million in 2022, whether you're here or not. Yep. And if you can get yourself to that posture, that stance with people that says, here's where we're going, with or without you, like you don't need you. Okay. Yeah. But I'm looking for people that can commit 15 to 20 hours part-time until their talent or their ability here gives them the ability to tell somebody else, I want my time back because I want to be able to do more with it. And that's probably how I would go about that.
Okay. Thank you.
I love it, Shonda. And that's such a great question. How can I help somebody get their part-time income, right? Working on their dream part-time, allowing that to put more funds in their bank account than their full-time, because that person is committed. And all I can do is give them the opportunity to put focused time with intensity into the work in order to grow that unstoppable momentum. And that's what we have as a team right now. We have unstoppable momentum. And that's because of all the commitment, all the choices, all the growth, all of the results that y'all have built in here. But again, that was last year. That's not this year. This year we storm the gates. This year we get to the next level. Shonda, what you found out is you can build a key leader team. You're not starting from the beginning. You're starting from there. You're starting from the foundation that you've built of knowing how to do that. And we have to get our heads right because we never start at the beginning again. It's like everything goes wrong in your life. Do you start again as a baby? No, you have a result that we can lean on. Let's go. Let's knock those, because what we see in every single year from year to year is not how can I do the things that I couldn't do last year. It's how could I do the things I could do last year, but chose not to. And that's the space. How could I get into that place of not doing the things that are impossible for me, but doing those things that are possible, but I just chose an easier and softer way, right? And that's how we get more engaged, because your business does not need more from you. It needs more of you. Learn how to put more of yourself in the business, and you'll build a pathway for others to do the same thing. And this business, their bank account, their relationships will be a full expression of how great they can be. We just have to realize that that's true now, just like it'll be true then. So let's grow ourselves. Let's go out and have a huge week this week, set the standard for this year, remove our excuses, and put that energy into the system. Because if we wait for it next week, we're still going to be waiting for it, right? If we create that energy within ourselves, if we affect the things that we listen, the way that we think, if we stop applying judgment to things and we can just move on and say, that's life, that's how it was, that doesn't have to be how it is, we can grow from there. So really am grateful for everybody hopping on here today. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, we have a help desk call with top leaders in the company, answering your questions about how to grow your business, how to get better. We have support every single day of the week. Wednesday, we've got our builders in our national call. Even if you're not a builder, hop on at 12:30, get the information you need. Because if you know how to do what you don't need yet, it's going to be a great thing to have, so that when you do choose to do it, it's there for you. Thursday, we've got our builders team. Friday, we've got our corporate overview. Got so much good things so many good things, so many people growing year over year. If you're not one of those people, let's join in. Come with us. Come, let's figure it out. And Rob, just can't thank you enough for the growth that you've had, the growth that we've seen on your team. And I don't want to give, I want to give you the credit for leadership. I don't want to give you the credit for the action that it took to get there. Both Monica and soon to be Hannah doing next level things. You do what they do, you can get the results that they get. So fired up for that. Let's go, guys. Let's have a great day, and excited to get into this next year.
Same. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.